Buckeye Talk from Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. Ohio State beats Nebraska 26-17. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com along with Stephen Means. We are grading Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud, 36 of 54 today, 405 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I only have 1 pick written down, but he had 2 picks and 4 rushes for loss of 13 yards, include some sack yardage there. He took, I think, 2 sacks in this game, which isn't bad considering 56 dropbacks, really. But I'm going to give him a B-. It's tough to win on the road. I understand all of that, but clearly some poor decisions that he made at times in this game. He's playing without his best receiver, a guy I think is his best receiver, in Garrett Wilson, probably the most consistent and explosive guy in this offense. Kind of made a star out of Jackson Smith and Jigba in some ways on a large scale today. Probably some guys around the Big Ten that had their eyes opened a little bit by what he was doing, although obviously we've been watching it all season. But the offense, the running game wasn't there today. And I thought that it was he was probably put in some tougher situations, whether that was because the running game wasn't getting going, whether that was because of the way that Ryan Day then decided to call the game. I'll have to go back and watch the film, I think, to get a better indication of that. But I think it's an indication today that this can't be a one-dimensional offense, even against Nebraska. I think they've got to find a way to get that running game going and give C.J. Stroud some help.
C- for me. Ryan Day has harped on the idea that his special skill is he sees the field well. And I agree with that. I think for most of the season, he saw it really well, especially once he came back from the shoulder injury, and that was no longer a problem for him. I don't think he saw the field well at all. He forced a lot. There were maybe 3 or 4 opportunities on an opening drive where he should have got picked off, and Nebraska finally made him pay for it on like the 3rd or 4th try. And that was all game long. I don't think he saw it well. I don't think he made some good decisions, but not always the best possible decision to get the most out of that play. And he threw it. Both his picks were bad. Those were just bad throws. This was for a guy who had been ascending pretty much every single week, even the Penn State game, given what the level of competition was, he regressed back to the mean a little bit this week.
You're right, and I think my grade was probably too high. I'd probably go like C+. I'm going to go C+. But because I do think that the lack of a run game is a factor here. That when you don't have that to kind of balance your offense, I mean, they threw the ball twice as many times as they ran it today. After a week of Ryan Day going out of his way to talk about the balance that they had on offense, it got completely out of whack again today. And the only time it's been this out of whack was when they lost to Oregon. So I do agree with you, though, as far as his decision-making and the way he saw some things. I mean, he said both picks were blatantly his fault, and I think everyone would agree with that. And I do think, though, that was something that we saw improve over the course of the game.
Yeah, one thing, and we can get out of here. We don't grade Ryan Day. We've never done that. That's not a segment we have, but I'm going to do that today. This was a D game for Ryan. I think the last 2 weeks, the play calling has just been off. And honestly, every year that Ryan Day's been the head coach here, they've had a game like that. Last year, it was the Indiana game late, and then obviously the entire Northwestern game was like that. Last week against Penn State, it was really vanilla, and then this week, it just – run the ball the one thing I did love about the Penn State game that they didn't necessarily do this week is all last week when the run game wasn't getting going, they stuck with it, and eventually it broke through. They never really did that this week. They kind of reverted back to the Oregon days where it's not working, let's just throw the ball with CJ 54 times, and it almost cost them just like it did against Oregon.
Yeah, again, quick reaction. I was kind of factoring into my grade of C.J. Stroud because I just felt like something was off with the play calling and that he was put in some tough situations. But I think he needs to execute better. I think he said he needs to execute better. So I downgraded him to a C+, C-. So I guess that comes out to a C for C.J. Stroud, which is not where he wants to be at this stage of the season. Get the text, 614-350-3315. News and analysis all week from Buckeye Talk.